The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of Money Radio staff, management, or advertisers, and do not represent an offer to buy or sell any securities. Some interviews heard on this program may be sponsored by the participants. It's time for Health Futures with Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth. This is Arizona's only show dedicated to providing you with expert advice on how to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. To learn more, call 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Bob Roth.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and it must be Friday, and indeed it is. It is Friday, July 9th. We're coming at you live from the Scottsdale Money Radio studios right here in the Scottsdale Air Park, 1510 AM, 105.3 FM, and the World Wide Web, moneyradio1510.com. If this is the first time you are listening to this show, our show is about how our older adult population can live a healthier, happier life. How do we do this? We do this by bringing extraordinary guests to the show. So I'm going to go right to it. We've got an extraordinary guest right here in the studio with me. And it's really nice that I am able to get guests to come into the studio these days after going through about 16 months of this pandemic and bringing a lot of people in through technology. So I, without further ado, want to welcome Dr. Rick Hall to the studio. He's the Senior Director of Health Innovation at Arizona State University, Edson College of Nursing and Health Innovation. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Glad to be in person.
Yeah, it is. Can I call you Rick?
Please do.
Rick, great to have you here on the show, too. And, you know, look, Arizona State University, we'll cut right to it. I mean, I'm sure you bleed maroon and gold, and this town is, built a lot around there. And you and I had a chance to talk just before the show got started. And I've been here for almost 30 years, and I think Dr. Crow's been here maybe 20.
Somewhere around that, right? 2021, yep.
And oh my gosh, what he has done to ASU, not just in Tempe, but in the city of Phoenix and really throughout the country.
Yeah, pretty incredible. We had a kind of a small presence in downtown Phoenix when President Crow came on, but when he said he was going to build a new campus in the downtown area, I think a lot of people probably thought he was crazy. I certainly did.
I did too.
Yeah, I mean, we already have a huge Tempe campus, a very nice opportunity to build more at the ASU West campus and also on the Polytechnic campus. We had 3 really big campuses here, and he said we're going to put down a campus downtown Phoenix, and it's blossomed. I mean, we have multiple colleges there: the College of Nursing and Health Innovation, the College of Health Solutions. The School of Law is there, the Thunderbird School of Global Management.
I was hoping you were going to say that because that now is part of the ASU portfolio.
That's right. And what an amazing story that is. I mean, it really gives us, so not only do we have this 4th campus in the Valley, being at downtown Phoenix, we also have this massively global presence because of our acquisition of Thunderbird School of Global Management. So we're in 9 different countries, across the world. All with the ASU logo on them, and just as importantly, we're launching additional locations here in the United States. We have a presence in Washington D.C. We have an 8-story building in Washington D.C., an ASU building. We have this next month, we're launching our LA, our California campus, and so I'm going to be visiting that in about 3 weeks. So it's pretty exciting and pretty ambitious, but I think. If you listen to Dr. Crow, you'll hear that our goal is really to be able to reach anyone in any place, and we can do that in so many different ways. And the other thing that we've launched since he's been here is ASU Online, and so we have many students. In fact, even in my programs that are all over the world in our degrees.
And you know what? You don't have to just believe what Rick Hall is telling you. U.S. News and World Reports is ranking ASU really high in so many different categories. But the one that just blows me away, and maybe you can refresh my memory, is like the engineering school.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people think of all the Ivies and stuff like that, but...
Sure. I mean, ASU has been listed as a #1 school of innovation or institute for innovation in the United States for like the last 6 years in a row by U.S. News and World Report. And, innovation is comes out of all of our colleges. Certainly engineering. We have one of the best business schools in the country as well. But I think part of that is that we just have a culture of innovation. So when President Crow came and he kind of created this new charter of ASU and what we are and what we're about, there's 8 pillars as part of our charter, and one of the pillars is innovation. We are going to think entrepreneurially, and we're going to use our resources and research and reach to use innovation to help not just students but our community and the people that we're around. And so this whole topic of entrepreneurship and innovation is really what kind of brought me into kind of where I am and what I'm going and what I'm doing now with the university.
So innovation also, the thing that fascinates me about ASU is that they incubate a lot of companies that were students at ASU and graduated ASU and came up with these ideas, and ASU is helping them bring these things to life.
That's right. You look at, first of all, and I would have loved to have had this when I was an undergraduate student, because I'm an entrepreneur by nature, just how I think, is that we take students, first of all, we help them come up with ideas, put them in situations and give them opportunities to come up with ideas. But just as importantly, we help put mentors around them, help give them, help them with their business modeling. And then finally, we have opportunities to get them funding. And so literally every semester, students pitch at the what we call now the J. Orrin Edson Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute, which really supports entrepreneurship and innovation throughout the entire university. And they have the Venture Devils program, which students are able to pitch their ideas and get funding. We had a recent student that we've done work with in my lab that just got $20,000 for his idea. Now, you would think you'd have to build a prototype and get some customers or something before you can get funding. No, these students are getting significant, sometimes it's 500, sometimes it's 5,000, sometimes it's 20,000, but just on an idea. It's a really good idea. And if you could put a good business model around it and you can convince the right mentors and stuff that this can actually work, we're going to try to help you find funding for it. And in this case of students, we don't even take equity in that. We just let them run their company. In fact, we try to find them additional funding past that. But we also work with, of course, faculty. We work with staff, and we work with community members. So if someone in the community wants help or advice related to entrepreneurship, we help them as well. So we're kind of just all in on this idea of innovation and entrepreneurship.
I had a chance to witness the award ceremony for the Desert Devils Innovation Challenge. Fascinating. There were almost 1,000 kids and their families there.
Incredible.
To be there for it. Just the energy was palpable.
That's
It really
great.
was.
Yeah, I think to me that's what makes it exciting. What we're doing is having the energy from these students and the excitement from them, their family, their co-founders, their faculty, who really have interesting and good ideas that we can help accelerate. We can help incubate, accelerate, fund. But I think the money sounds interesting, like to get $20,000. What's more interesting, or what's more beneficial, and some of them may not even know this, is just the mentorship that they get. We have some of the best subject matter experts in almost any topic that they could be trying to forward, whether it's biosensors from the engineering school, or whether it's professors from the College of Nursing and Health Innovation, or from the College of Health Solutions. We have really amazing subject matter experts that are willing to help them, and why not take advantage of that while you're still a student?
And let's not discount the alumni. I'm sure
Oh, of
you
course.
have a strong alumni group that is there to help, to mentor and help a
Absolutely.
lot of these students out.
Absolutely. In fact, that's one of the more exciting things about the work I do, is I'm able to bring in some of those alum as either guest speakers or mentors or subject matter experts. Our advisory board is made up of many folks that have been at Arizona State University. So absolutely. And that's makes it even more exciting, because we're bringing in people from every angle and every part of the cycle.
I love it. Love it. We've got about a minute left, but I want to tee off our second segment, because
Okay.
we actually talked about ASU more globally, right? We talked about, how Dr. Crow has really put ASU on the map and the incredible stuff that you're doing in our community. But I also want, when we come back, for you to tell us about the Edson School of Nursing, Health Innovation, and what is your role there? That's what I really want to talk about, because I think that's fascinating. And I'm in the healthcare vertical, and this is Health Futures. And innovation is about our future, and Rick Hall is going to tell us a little bit more about it when we come back. You've been listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I'm your host, Bob Roth. And James, awesome. A little who to take us out. I love it. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I got one segment down. I got 3 more to go. I got Dr. Rick Hall. He's the Senior Director of Health Innovation for Arizona State University, Edson College of Nursing and Health Innovation. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and we are in our second segment. If you're just tuning in, I've got Dr. Rick Hall. He's the Senior Director of Health Innovation at Arizona State University, Edson College of Nursing and Health Innovation. And if you missed our first segment, go out to our website at cypresshomecare.com. Click on the third button across the top, media button. Third button down is radio show. And you can catch this show and about 400 others we've been bringing to you now for the last 8 years.
It's incredible.
And I told you, Rick, I only bring the best guests here. and I got to tell you, if you missed that first segment, Rick got a chance to really talk to us about ASU and what Dr. Crow has done and what his vision is. And they're omnipresent. They are everywhere, and they're doing such phenomenal things as it relates to health and innovation. And that's really what I want Rick to concentrate on in this segment, is really tell us a little bit about the Edson College of Nursing and Health Innovation, and really what is your role over there?
Sure. So obviously with the Edson College of Nursing and Health Innovation, the word nurse is in there. We do offer nursing programs, bachelor's programs, master's programs, doctoral programs, DNP programs, PhD in nursing programs. But we also have several other degrees that are not nursing. So we have the degrees that report to me are the Bachelor's of Health Entrepreneurship and Innovation and the Master's in Healthcare Innovation. And the Master's in Healthcare Innovation is completely online. So we have students all over the world, literally students in the Middle East, talking to students who are here in the Valley, talking to students who are from California or New York. And it's really, originally it came out of some nurses who were in innovation and were experts in innovation and were able to create really the first ever Masters of Healthcare Innovation program in the country. There's only 2 more now, but we're the first. We've been around for about 13, 14 years now. And it's an interdisciplinary degree. We have students who are nurses, doctors, pharmacists, dietitians. We have students who aren't healthcare practitioners, who are just interested in getting into the healthcare field or looking at leadership roles in healthcare. And really what we're trying, with this whole concept of innovation, we teach innovation throughout our college. So, those 2 degrees I brought up, of course, are innovation, Bachelor's of Health Entrepreneurship and Innovation and Master's of Healthcare Innovation. But our innovation teaching also is included in our nursing program. So we have a nursing and healthcare innovation program. We have an advanced nursing practitioner DNP program and innovation leadership. And so we talk about innovation and what is that, innovation, and how does it affect healthcare? Well, there's so many disruptions that are happening in healthcare right now.
So many.
Yeah, I mean, you could talk about technology, you could talk about policy, you could talk about
let's just
financial.
How about telemedicine? I mean, if it wasn't for this pandemic, only like 20 to 30% of physicians were using telemedicine, and during the height of the pandemic, it was like 75 to 80%.
Yeah, it's crazy. I had my first telemedicine appointment during the pandemic.
Yeah,
and I've always been a proponent of it. It's sometimes it's been a resistance from the practitioners, right, and sometimes it's been resistance from the patients. But at the same time, I had a really good experience having a telemedicine appointment, and it was more efficient. Got the exact same treatment that I normally would have. It's there's certain things that are going to be harder to assess. But with this area of technology, you're seeing there's some things that could be done at home that we never thought could be done at home in the past. Whether
what the best thing about the practitioners is that they're able to see where their patients live.
Oh, interesting.
And certainly I've had doctors here in the office say, hey, my patient introduced me to their dog, their cat. They wanted to show me around the house. I get a better sense of who they are and how they live, and they get a chance to spend more time with them.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Yeah. And that, that personal touch could actually be enhanced, through technology, where we don't, you're not in this sterile environment of a hospital room where
Right.
or a medical room where you don't normally can't see the environment. So I agree with you. So yeah, those are some of the education programs that we run in our college. I also am responsible for an entrepreneurship lab. It's the Health Entrepreneur Accelerator Lab, which you are now a part of. Thank you for that.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so we bring in experts like yourself and CEOs and founders from companies and healthcare companies, mostly in the Valley, to come help our students, whether it's helping them come up with ideas or being guest speakers for our students, mentors, which is probably the most important part, judges for our competitions, and helping kind of steer me and drive me to make sure that we're addressing what needs to be addressed. Because, we want to empower students to start their own ideas, but we want to make sure they're actually tackling real problems, right? And so having experts who are actually in the field, inside of our lab, and talking to our students kind of helps us address the right problems before they get too far down the path. You hate to go down a path of a solution that really is not an actual problem. And too often in the past, students or entrepreneurs find a solution, then try to find a problem to fit it, right? And it shouldn't go that way.
No, you shouldn't. And it's interesting because I was part of this group and I'd shared it with you, Aging 2.0, and it's basically a not-for-profit trade group that is more of a curator platform for innovation and technology in the older adult space. And the interesting thing is that they have this they have this person, she's described as CEO. She's a 91-year-old retired physician, and her name is Mary, and she every year speaks, and she says to these innovators who are showing all their things and all their wares, and she says, if you don't have someone like me in your portfolio in terms of testing, bouncing ideas off, you are going down the wrong path, because you really need to have the people that it's going to affect. I mean, older adults, they get it. They're the ones that are going to use it. You can't be in an ivory tower and come up with these innovations.
That's right. And we talk about human-centered design, where we're actually hoping that every entrepreneur starts there. What's the problem? Go interview the actual people you're trying to help.
Exactly.
Talk to them. Go talk before you even start down the path of building your prototype for your solution. Go talk to the end user. Talk to 100 of them in the first week. Find out if you're on the right path, because you might find out it's not a good idea, or nobody would buy it, or there's other solutions out there that would tackle the same problem. And maybe you could, instead of going down a 1 or 2 year path of starting a solution that nobody wants, you change your idea. And so that's this concept that we teach now of lean startup methodology, where you really start without dumping a bunch of money and a business plan into it. You really start with interviewing the people that you're trying to find a solution for, making sure that you're going down the right path, making sure it's an actual problem. What's the pain point that you're going to fix for them? And will they buy it? Is it a sustainable solution?
Right.
And if you could do that before you build the product, you'll save you all types of money and time. And those are the things that make businesses and startups fail.
Exactly. Because
they spend too much time wasted.
Right. And yes, you're trying to solve a problem, but you don't clearly understand it. So as we get ready to close our first half, you're in the College of Nursing and Health Innovation, and we have an incredible workforce shortage. And I'm just looking at nursing. What is ASU trying to do to bring more students in to get degrees in nursing?
Well, our college currently we've been growing our programs. Our nursing programs and our cohorts have grown. We're launching a brand new cohort in Lake Havasu campus.
Nice.
And so it's really crucial to have important partnerships. I mean, those clinical placements are extremely important for having, whether it's nurses or dietitians, or because we have a whole other health college at ASU, the College of Health Solutions, that have all types of other degrees, but they have the same problems. If we could teach them almost so much in a book. You have to get them out into the field. Especially nurses, they have to be out and talking to real patients. So one thing we do is we have these amazing simulation labs. And so these simulation labs are where these students can go and practice either on a mannequin or on an actor. and in a supervised setting, and it builds their confidence and helps kind of direct whether their practice is going in the right direction. But eventually, you got to get out in the field and work with hospitals and nurses in these clinical settings. And so, building those coalitions is extremely important. We have increased our population size and be able to and offerings in nursing education, but we're doing the same thing by adding campuses, which is exciting as well.
Right, and that's a big part of problem solving for that. I've had a chance to meet Judith Karshmer.
That's my dean.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's absolutely awesome. And I think that you guys are doing some amazing things. I mean, not just here in Phoenix, as you shared, and many other markets too. And the other person I know in the school is Dr. David Kuhn, who I'm a big fan of as well. So you guys have great people doing really great things. And, my hat's off to you, really, truly. We're getting ready to wind down the first half. And, we've talked a lot about ASU. We've talked about the School of Nursing. I want to come back in the third segment, talk a little bit about Dr. Rick Hall, how you got into this. And you told me a little bit about your degrees, and I know you're an entrepreneur at heart, and that's really what drove you to be part of the Edson School of Nursing and Innovation. And I love how innovation is happening all around, and especially in healthcare, because we need to innovate, especially with the older adult population.
Yeah, absolutely.
We certainly don't have enough people to care for the older adults.
Yeah.
I mean, we are aging at such a rapid rate.
Yeah.
And I can tell you statistically, by 2030, we're going to have more people 65 and older in the state of state of Arizona, than we are going to have 17 and younger.
Incredible.
You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I'm your host, Bob Roth. I've got Dr. Rick Hall here in the studio. We've got one more half coming up. Stick around. We will be right back.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and we're in our second half here. And if you're just tuning in, I got Dr. Rick Hall here. He is the Senior Director of Health Innovation for the Edson School of Nursing and Health Innovation. And we had an incredible first half talking about ASU and what Arizona State University has done, not just here, but globally, through their growth over the last 20 plus years. And we really got a chance to dig in a little bit about what is going on at the Edson College of Nursing and Health Innovation. And if you want to catch what we were talking about, you can catch it up on our website. Click on the media button at cypresshomecare.com. Third button down is radio show. You'll catch this show and many, many others. So Rick, before we really delve more into the health innovations and College of Nursing and the stuff that you guys are doing, I want to learn, and I want our listeners to learn a little bit about you. Are you from here?
I'm originally from the Chicago area, north of Chicago, about 40 miles north of Chicago, in a town called Wildwood, which is kind of by Gurnee, if you're familiar with the Great America. Yeah, so that's where I grew up, moved here, and went to high school in Mesa. And then
Great America, so everyone understands, it's an amusement park.
It's an amusement park,
yes.
right? Yeah,
Six Flags, I think. Yeah.
Used to be called Marriott Great America. Marriott owned it at the time.
Wow. Okay.
And so, so we moved here, and I went to high school in Mesa. Went to college at NAU in Flagstaff. Met my wife there. Got my master's here at Arizona State University, and then my PhD at Iowa State University. But I've been in Arizona since 1985.
Since 1985, and how did you come by, working at ASU and taking a professional role there?
Well, really, my background's in nutrition. I'm not a nurse, so I'm a dietitian, and I got my bachelor's degree at NAU in dietetics. Loved working in the nutrition field. Did it for several years. I was working as the National School Lunch Program Director for the Arizona Department of Education, and the position came up at Arizona State University in the master's program that I used to teach in, to teach bachelor's level programming in nutrition management. So I was teaching nutrition people in nutrition degrees to become managers or leaders in the healthcare field. Because a lot of in any area of healthcare, you're going to always end up being in some type of leadership role. You're going to have to learn how to hire people and train people. And so, and it kind of fit my background because I was always, personally in involvement I was in leadership roles, whether it was the Department of Education or some of the other school districts I used to work for. So it really fit me very perfectly. And I started working at ASU around the same time Dr. Crow did, around 2001. Yeah.
Wow. No, very cool. And how long have you been part of the Edson College of Nursing and Health Innovation?
A lot less time. So, while teaching, I've always kind of had an entrepreneurial mindset. And so my wife and I actually got into the Subway business in, I think, 2005. And we bought our first Subway restaurant and then bought another one. And this is the whole time I was teaching at ASU. And I was teaching nutrition management. I was teaching students how to, learn and build teams and those types of things, how to plan menus for school districts and hospitals and all those types of things.
So important.
Yeah, very important. While at the same time, I'm running a business, and so my wife and I had 8 restaurants in the Phoenix metropolitan area, and I did that while I was a professor. But at the same time, it was kind of 2 separate worlds. I had this entrepreneurial world, and I had this teaching world, and the two weren't like mixed together. And I think what really changed that for me was Dr. Crow's vision of really supporting and building and empowering students to be entrepreneurs. And so through these venture double programs from the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute at ASU, where they're bringing in students and teaching them how to and putting mentors aside them after giving them funding for their ideas, I was getting calls. So as an example, for my first mentoring of a student, there was a student who had won $20,000 for his idea to make Danish pancake business.
Wow.
At ASU, yeah. So, and they said, well, we need an expert who can help him. Who's an expert in like food and food management? And they called me and they said, don't you own Subways? And so really I started getting a lot of calls like that. I was getting calls from incubators outside of ASU saying, you're kind of an expert in health, nutrition, wellness. You're also happen to be a food guy, so can we call you if there's ever an idea for that needs a mentor or a student that needs help in their entrepreneurial ideas related to health or nutrition or exercise or wellness? And I said, sure, I'd love to. And that kind of gave me the spark to kind of mix these two worlds. And so I started by creating a nutrition entrepreneurship class. And so I started teaching entrepreneurship, and that course is still taught today. But I launched that course because I thought, students come out of ASU, there's nothing better to learn how to innovate and to learn how to be an entrepreneur, even if you're not going to start a business, because you can use those skills within the organizations that you belong to. So whether you work for a hospital or whether you work for a school district, if you think entrepreneurially, you think, how can I build a sustainable solution for what I'm trying to do, what the problems are I'm trying to solve, then you can get those skills at ASU. That's a great thing. So after starting that, after launching those programs, kind of came over to the Edson College of Nursing and Health Innovation because they have whole degrees in innovation that really excited me. That started with the Masters of Healthcare Innovation, like I mentioned, and the Bachelors of Health Entrepreneurship and Innovation. And then through that, decided to launch the Health Entrepreneur Accelerator Lab, which is what you're part of. And it's really a separate, it's not a degree-seeking lab. It's just an opportunity for students, whether they're bachelor students, master students, graduate students, faculty, staff, and even community members, to come in and just learn about business modeling, learn about funding, learn about taking those skills that they're learning in their class and applying it to a real solution. And why not do that while you're still at ASU, while you still have a personal touch and ability to see and work with subject matter experts in health? I mean, there's just no better place to do it. And students, they have nothing to lose. Why not start something when you have nothing to lose? You look at some of the biggest tech companies, today. They were all started by young people like Microsoft and Facebook and Excite and Yahoo and Apple. I mean, they were all started by young people who were, college level people. Some of them dropped out of college to start their ideas. We don't want people to drop out. So why don't we, instead of giving them the incentive to drop out to start their ideas, why don't we empower them to do it while they're still students so they can get that degree? So while they can talk to their subject matter experts or their professors and also get the funding and resources they need to start their business.
Love what you guys are doing. And you talk about entrepreneurism and you having been a business owner. I mean, it's one thing to be working in a classroom, but it's another to be running a business and having to make a payroll and pay your bills and stuff like that. that really brings a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge to creating whatever you're working on in terms of innovation in products and services. So I
that's
love
right.
that.
Yeah, I mentioned Subway, but I'm still in business. My cousin and I run a web publishing company. That was an accidental business, and we've been around. We've been doing that for 20 years. We still have clients all over the country. A past student of mine started a multivitamin company, and her and her husband got it profitable, and then decided they wanted to get out. They didn't want to do it anymore. They were having kids, and they're like, I don't want to do it anymore. And I said, well, send me your profit and loss. Let me look at it and see if I can find a buyer for it. And I bought it. And so my wife and I now own a multivitamin company. And we send that product all over the world.
Wow.
You can find it on Amazon.
You want to give a shameless plug?
Oh, sure. It's K-Free Daily. It's
okay.
K-Free Daily. It's a multivitamin without vitamin K. And it's primarily marketed to people who are on blood thinners or have blood clotting issues, because vitamin K helps your blood to clot. And people who are on like Coumadin or any kind of blood thinning agents often are trying to avoid K because it kind of counteracts the medication that they're taking. So it's very niche, very specific. It's nothing fancy about it other than it's a multivitamin without vitamin K, and most multivitamins have vitamin K in it. So people find us, they love it, and they purchase it, and it's doing really quite well.
I love that about you. We got about a minute left in this segment. I want you to talk a little bit about Wexler and with that partnership.
Yeah, Wexford. So
Wexford, I mean.
Yeah, no worries. So we call the building's called 850 PBC now, and it's a company called Wexford that has a lot of operations all over the country. Mostly, this is their first endeavor on this side of the Mississippi, but the groundbreaking was attended by the mayor of Phoenix and as well as President Crow. I was there. Several ASU deans were there, and it launched earlier this year. 8-story building in downtown Phoenix. Right on Garfield and 3rd Street. It's part of the Phoenix Biomedical Campus, so it has access and really close to ASU, U of A, and NAU, who all have health-related degrees downtown Phoenix. And that building is completely dedicated to health innovation. So you look at, it's incredible. So the first floor is where our lab is, the Health Entrepreneurship Accelerator lab. We meet in the J. Orrin Edson Entrepreneurship Innovation Institute space. And the next 5 floors above us are all ASU leased spaces, where you have anything from wet lab spaces to conference rooms and those types of things. But it's an opportunity for companies outside of ASU to come in. Like, for example, venture capitalists could have offices there. But it's also an opportunity for our students who have launched their ideas and now are raising millions sometimes of dollars to house their company. So it's not just a university space. It's actually a private space. ASU rents and leases, but also other companies can lease. And we have 2 big companies are out of that space right now that were very involved in ASU, or maybe in some cases we're going to see more that are from ASU IP owned products.
It's fascinating. It really is. It's just the energy, because I got a chance to be there last month, is palpable. It really is. And the views are amazing. You took me to the top floor. And
yeah, we're going to start having some opportunities for the community to come in as well on Thursday starting this fall. So look for it.
And they also have plans for other buildings around. You guys showed me where they were going to be coming. So amazing things are happening at Arizona State University. Dr. Rick Hall, we got one more segment. Stick around. We're going to cover a couple more things about the School of Nursing and Innovation, and then we'll be back to close it out. Marshall Tucker, thank you, James. Great way to start or end the 3rd segment. We'll be right back.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. And if you're just tuning in, we're in our 4th segment. I got Dr. Rick Hall here in the studio with me. He's the Senior Director of Health Innovation at the ASU Edson College of Nursing and Health Innovations. And we have covered a lot of material over the last 3 segments. I urge you to go up to our website if you've missed them, to catch them up on the website. That'll be up there later today. It's cypresshomecare.com. Click on the media button, 3rd button down is radio show. So I really want to close here, Rick, and really talk about some of the partnerships. And you talked about Wexford and what you guys have done with Wexford in this incredibly innovative building that is in downtown Phoenix. But you've got some other partnerships outside that you're working on. Please do share with us.
So, like I mentioned earlier, we can't do what we do without others. And so we really rely on the partnerships with other healthcare organizations, hospital systems, and whatnot. But one of our strongest partnerships is with the Mayo Clinic. And so we have this Mayo Clinic ASU Healthcare Alliance. And of that, lots of programs run, and we have cross-appointed faculty and whatnot. But the program that I'm responsible for from the ASU side, I'm the co-managing partner for, is the Mayo Clinic ASU MedTech Accelerator. And then we have a whole team, and I have a partner on the Mayo side, Mike Harris, who's the managing partner from the Mayo side for the accelerator. But really, I talked earlier about kind of like how we help students in the ideation stage and solving the right problems. But this isn't our opportunity to accelerate at the other bookend of the spectrum of the entrepreneurial journey in healthcare, and that is to help companies who have maybe already built their prototype, maybe they're already selling their product, but they really still need help in accelerating their business in the healthcare arena. So our criteria is that they have to have raised at least $500,000 in funding or more. Many have raised several $1 million before they come in. And we recruit from all over the country. And actually, we even recruit internationally. And we bring in 6 to 8 companies a year. And we take them through an immersion process, and we give them curriculum related to FDA approval, for example. So we bring in the FDA to help them navigate how to get their product FDA approved. We bring in experts from ASU and from Mayo Clinic on topics like human-centered design and research. Some of these companies are needing to do a research protocol and to validate their product. And so after about 2 weeks of immersion, we kind of continue a relationship with them up to a year. And several, actually, many of them from our first cohort are still very active with us, and that cohort was 3 years ago. So the idea is that we're trying to help, and we carefully seek out and then vet the companies that we think are going to be highly successful and are somewhat disruptive in a good way. That's either going to improve or enhance patient care or access to healthcare. That's really important for Mayo Clinic and as well as ASU. And then how are they going to be financially stable in the next 5 to 10 years through their disruption in a way that we think can potentially make healthcare cheaper? That's a good thing as well. So if they're clicking any of those buttons, making healthcare more accessible, making it better, making it more affordable, we want to see those companies, and we bring them in and we accelerate them through those opportunities, and we give them very concierge level service with subject matter experts from both institutions. And I'll tell you, I could just tell you a real quick story from this MedTech Accelerator. One of the companies that came in from the first cohort, when they were coming for their first 2-week immersion, and we introduced them to all these doctors and clinicians and researchers. And one of the companies came back from a 10-minute meeting with a surgeon at Mayo Clinic, and he came back into the room, and I said, "How'd your meeting go?" He said, "That meeting alone was worth our time and money to be here." And that was his first day. That was his first meeting.
Wow.
And they had like 60 meetings after that. And they have since launched new products, new product lines outside of their original product because of their relationship with Mayo and because of their relationship with these physicians who say, "Yeah, you're solving a good problem, but there's some other problems I need solved too. And I think your solution could be tweaked a little bit to solve this other problem. And could I maybe participate in helping you drive what the new innovation is?" And entrepreneurs are all in on that.
I love that. It's like an open source rather than being in a silo.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, that's one thing about innovation. Innovation is almost never done by yourself.
Right.
You always need other people. And when we talk about innovation, we talk about all those disruptions include multi units of expertise. We do need people who are experts in policy. We need people who are experts in finance. We need people who are experts in engineering. But you get all those people together and really amazing things can happen. So we launched, actually, ASU built, we talked about the Wexford building. We launched another building ASU did on right beside the Mayo Clinic in North Phoenix. So if you're traveling down Mayo Boulevard.
I just passed it the other day.
It's a beautiful building.
It is.
Yeah.
It looks very small compared to the Mayo Clinic Hospital.
It does, but it is a 3-story, nice, beautiful sized building, and I need to take you through that.
I'd like to definitely go through that.
We'll do that in the next couple months because it's a very similar space in Wexford in that it's devoted and dedicated to health innovation, but it's really it's adjacent to the Mayo Clinic property, and it's there in purpose because we have such a strong relationship with Mayo Clinic, and we want to make sure that we're empowering other entities to come in and work alongside ASU and Mayo Clinic for these endeavors, but also what are ways we can encourage entrepreneurship and innovation within Mayo Clinic, within ASU? What kind of collaborations and partnerships can we put together from our staff and faculty to create our own solutions? And then finally, how do we accelerate those and get them into market? Because getting a new product into healthcare is very, very difficult in the United States. I mean, and for good reason. There's a lot of regulations, a lot of FDA approvals that have to happen. And there's a lot of people trying to do it. So we want to make sure that we're helping the right solutions get into the right hands as quickly as possible without making some of the mistakes that a lot of companies would make if they didn't have the access to those experts.
Absolutely. FDA is a perfect example. I mean, if I were an innovator and came up with something, I wouldn't know the first thing to do, and you guys can help guide those folks through that whole process.
That's right, and I think that's why we call it Accelerate, right? Where we're really speeding up that process. You might be able to figure out in 2 or 3 years, but maybe we can help you figure it out in 2 or 3 months.
Exactly.
Get the experts around you to help you do it faster and better and smarter.
How long has that partnership been with Mayo?
Well, the accelerator itself has been, we launched it 3 years ago. We just launched our second cohort, and we'll be marketing for our third cohort fairly soon. The Healthcare Alliance has been a little bit longer than that. But like I said, there's multiple programs that come out of that program. I am only expert on the accelerator. I'm not sure of all the other programs and situations that we partnerships that we do with them. But I think it's probably been around less than 10 years. But the relationship between Mayo and ASU is extremely important. Both the CEO for
Two
Mayo,
incredible brands.
Yeah, exactly. And
really?
and our president and their CEOs are very much aligned. And how do we improve healthcare? How do we improve access to healthcare? How do we make healthcare more affordable? How do we improve the diversity of the patients that we're serving? And we can do that in a number of different ways. And the accelerator is just one example of that. But we're looking for how do we educate the future healthcare workers as well to do the same thing?
Well, I got to tell you, Rick, I've learned so much here, and I thought I knew, but I've learned so much more, and certainly our listeners have. I can't thank you enough for joining us here. Dr. Rick Hall, he is the Senior Director of Health Innovation, Arizona State University, Edson College of Nursing and Health Innovation. Thank you for joining us here at Health Futures.
Thank you, Bob.
Everyone here listening in, make it a great day. Have a great weekend. We will be back next Friday.
There's no place like home. You've been listening to Bob Roth's Health Futures. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call Cypress Home Care Solutions at 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Or visit cypresshomecare.com. Be sure to join Health Futures with Bob Roth every Friday at noon, right here on Money Radio 1510 and 105.3 FM.